Thank y'all so much again for logging in and joining me today. My name is Marilyn Maxwell, and you should be seeing my contact information on the screen. Feel free to take a picture or jot that down if you need anything after the webinar. I am a full-time employee here at HAR, so that's kind of what I do. So let me know if I can be of help to you. During the webinar today, if you've got any questions, feel free to use the chat, and I will try to address the questions as quickly as I can. Today's webinar is going to cover the MLS statistical reports that are available within the system. We will go through reports that are available at the bottom of your search results and working with only specific properties to get specific statistics. It's harder to say than you might think. And then there's statistical reports section, the whole menu full of stats reports. And then finally, the market reports menu. So switching over to Matrix here. When you first log in, we're going to head to search first and just do a quick search for some property. You can use multiple different ways to search for property. I just happen to be going to the single family quick search because it's there, it's at the top, it's easy, and I have to pick something, quite frankly, for the presentation. There is nothing wrong with using the classic version of the search. The classic search is just a little bit longer form, spread out a little bit further. So all these things that are on the right-hand side are mostly condensed here in the quick search. So again, aesthetics really. So there's nothing wrong with choosing one or the other to do your search. I'm going to just put in some really basic criteria and look in a certain price range with homes that are about a certain shape and size. And then I'm going to use zip code. You, again, can use quite a few different things. You can use subdivision names, master plan community, legal subdivision, geo market areas. You could go and draw on the map. So however you would normally perform your search, that's what you're trying to do here. Again, it could be because you're doing market research for CMA purposes or marketing purposes. You're trying to get information about prospective listings. So whatever the reason is, just fill in the blanks as necessary. I'm also only working with active properties at the moment, but you certainly could fill in pending property status if you'd like to do that. I'm just going to work with these that I have. So I'll click results in the upper right there. You could also click results in the bottom left. All right, so these are my results, and you'll notice at the bottom that there is a stats button that's kind of lit up. The rest are grayed out where I can't use them. Initially, if you don't select anything, you can click on stats, and that will take you to some of the stats. It will take you to the menu of stats reports. So we're going to do that together a little bit later. Excuse me. Pardon me. So I'm going to just check a few, pretending that I've painstakingly read through these, and these are perfect and fabulous and wonderful examples of what I want to use in my report. The other action options have now lit up because I checked the box by at least one property. And you'll notice that the stats menu is still available. Charts is only available when you have nothing checked, and tabular is available only once you have something checked. So we're going to work with tabular first. So these are just going to be pretty generic statistics. I didn't choose any closed status properties, so I've got kind of a half blank chart. Again, if you wanted to go into different statuses, you certainly could do that. But you can see it's got your minimum, maximum, average, and median stats for each of these categories across the top, right? This is actually the exact same data that's in the Quick CMA. So if you're familiar with the Quick CMA, you'll know that it's a polished up version. It's got some graphics. It looks a little more professional. It's designed to be given to a consumer. So that's why it looks a little different, but it's basically the same information. So if you're looking for stats on specific properties, this illustrates those properties and then again breaks it out by columns of data and your minimum, maximum, average, and median all in that chart. Again, I'm only working with active here. If we go back and fill in pending properties and solds, we're going to get quite a good number of other results. And that will just fill in the blank a little bit more. fill in the blanks on the chart better, a little bit more. Again, under the stats option here, charts and tabular are both available because I have nothing checked. So again, I'm going to check some, check all, and then go into stats and tabular. And so you can see it breaks it into different charts for each status. So active, option pending if I had any, pending continue to show, etc. And so what it's looking at here in the solds, just to give you a little bit more insight onto the numbers that have been added on, you have your sales price, and then you have your closed adjusted price or adjusted sales price. The adjustments that are pulled off of those numbers, the reason they're different is because the matrix system is looking for two different concessions that were made. Closing contributions from the seller to the buyer and any actual repairs made. So if those numbers are entered into the MLS on a sold property, it's going to do the math for you and give you the adjusted sales price. What it's doing is subtracting the actual sales price minus those adjustments that have been made. So it'll reduce the closed price by the amount that was given away in those two concessions. All right. Check the chat. There's part of a question in the chat, but not a full question just yet. All right. Again, feel free to pop those in the chat if it's related to the webinar. I'll be glad to answer it. So it does do the adjusted price on the quick CMA as well. Let's go back into the quick CMA real quickly and see that one. It'll take it just a little bit longer to generate this time since I have quite a few more listings. All right, so then it's going to break it apart again into different tables. So I've got all my active properties, whatever pendings that I might have had, and then the solds. And then in the last page is a summary. And at the bottom of that page, you'll see your adjusted sales price per square foot. And I generally always go with the average adjusted sales price per square foot. And the adjusted sold price is there as well. And again, when I'm looking at statistics, I generally am focusing on the average because that's taking into account my lows and highs and middle ground. Median does not involve any math. It's just literally the middle of a list. So it's not necessarily the best representation of the overall statistic in that particular category. So again, my preference is average. So you've got those options there. I'm not, I don't think I'm understanding your question, your comment completely, Catherine. It is only going to be on the sold properties and it is in the summary. And it's only summarizing the solds down there. All right, and the adjusted sold price is pulling out the concessions that are made, the sales, seller contribution to buyer closing costs, and the actual repairs made. Let me just look in one of my solds here, see if I can't find you those numbers so you have a visual. At the bottom of a sold property, you'll see the two categories. In this particular case, they didn't have any numbers there, so we don't have an adjustment to be made. But if there had been, $5,000 in repairs there or closing costs there, that's what's being subtracted out. Let's flip through real quickly. Here's one that's got that. So they gave away $4,000 there. So the adjusted sales price would be $350,000 minus this $4,000. All right. And then that would give me my adjusted sale price. And then the adjusted price per square foot is calculated for you again on the quick CMA as well. All right. The difference again between average and median. Median doesn't involve any math. It's just literally picking the middle of a list. So this is the middle price of all of the list prices that I had up at the top table under actives. Same with sold price, etc. Average is actually averaging the whole column together. So it's adding everything up, dividing it by the number of things that were in that column and giving me the average, which is going to then include my lows and highs and middle numbers and just give me a more, I think, more complete reflection of what the number should be, or what numbers to use when I'm doing math and things like that. All right. You're welcome. All right. The old quick CMA used to have a column called just the sale price. Okay, so you're wanting a column in this, but on this, in this area, but on the sold table. I can certainly put in a request and see if that can be changed. But the matrix report kind of is what it is. Matrix generally lays out their reports, but we can certainly ask. No, 50-50 shot if we try, right? So thank you for explaining and making sure I understood right, and I'll put in the request for that, right? The other statistic that I like to focus on this particular report in the sold area is the sales price to list price ratio, SPLP percent, in the top right corner. These numbers are crazy lately because this is your amount below or above the sale price that you're able to achieve. So the SPLP percent, again, the average is the number that I'm going to focus on. They are able to achieve that percentage of the list price once they sold. So when we listed a property, the goal was 100%, just to make the math simple. But then they were able to actually achieve 99.4% once the property sold. The highest one was able to achieve over list, and it got 102.97%. The median number fell at 100, but averaging those all together gives me 99.4%. This can come in really handy when you're doing a CMA, because this is telling you in that particular market what the variance would be. If you subtract that number, 100% minus the 99.4, that's going to give you the variance in your market. So that's a 0.6% swing, right? So that gives you a very small bubble where you can list the price. You want to swing a little and give them a low and a high suggested market value for their home. But that is telling you that you only have that small amount of swing. You only have a 0.6% range that you could be in. So again, I find that number to be really helpful. When I teach the CMA class, we talk about that a bit as well. You can also use the adjusted sales price per square foot to get your starting point. So if you multiply this $203.22, the average adjusted sales price per square foot, that will give you your initial suggested list price or market value. And then you could swing above and below that by that 0.6%. So that is an easy way to kind of get that range in order to present those prices to a prospective seller. Right. So again, all of that came from the quick CMA. It's a good report in that it has a lot of good information there. It is, again, designed to be given to a consumer. So it's perfectly fine to give to a consumer. Just know your target audience. If they want more fluff in a good way, more charts, graphs, pictures, things like that, the CMA wizard is available. Just not a part of the presentation for today, but you have other CMA reports that are available. So you certainly could give them statistical reports, but you can also use different reports for the CMA. All right. So the last option underneath the results was to not check properties and go to the stats section. So if you have no properties in your results checked and you click stats, it will automatically take you to the stats section. So you don't have to reload your criteria. You can start from scratch and put in your own default criteria, which we'll do together. I'll just go to charts. So it pulled over my criteria for me. Single family, 350 to 450,000, 3+, 2+ beds and baths in a certain square footage range in that zip code. And then on the left-hand side of the screen there, you'll notice that we have a handful of presets. Again, sale price to list price ratio. We were just talking about that with the other report. So in order to calculate that statistic, if I'd like to, I would just click on the name of the report and then click generate. And you can see it's missing some data for some months and some years potentially. You can change that focus. So up here at customize in the upper left corner, it's going back 5 years, maybe just year to date would be better. It's grouped by month. Under the advanced and style options, you can group it by different options. You can change the kind of graph if you want. You can make it 3D, so you have a good number of choices there. I'm going to make it a different color just to make it as different as I can. I'll change almost everything there. And then we'll hit generate. So it's going to regenerate this report for a smaller time frame. And now it's in my amazing berry color that I chose there. You can make it different. Again, different looking if you want. Different colors. It can be lines or whatever. So these are the same numbers that we looked at just a moment ago on the same types of property. So kind of the same numbers that were on this report, but in a chart form. So it's just giving me a lot more information, visually different information, but the same type of information in the report, right? And these are download, emailable, I should say. So you can click the email link and be able to send that to a consumer. You could print it out on a piece of paper if you'd like to do that. And then frankly, you can just right click and save the image if you wanted to do that, and then upload that to say Instagram or Facebook or something like that and share the chart that way. You certainly could do that. There's also a tab up here in the upper right for data. And this is sort of the Excel spreadsheet type layout of the data that was in the chart. This can be exported to Excel. It's a CSV file, which is a glorified Excel file. And so you can work with the statistical information offline, make your own charts and graphs if you want, or just have it for your record. This was year to date as of July 9th, and you could save that report and then come back next month and run it again. You can also save the reports inside Matrix. So back in the upper left, is a Save tab. And instead of calling it Sale Price to List Price Ratio, I could call it July 2021 Sale Price to List Price Ratio, or whatever else it is I'd like to do, and then save a copy. And then you'll see down here, it's saved for me, and I can open and run that anytime that I'd like to do that. You can also tweak the results, tweak the criteria and change that. But now this one has been saved, and the preset is just still the link for me. And I have a question here, just in brief, to explain benefits of statistical reports. Again, just to kind of find the numbers that we've been looking at, the sale price to list price ratio, again, comes in very handy in the CMAs, I think, because you have that little bit of variance, the leeway that you have in that particular market. So as the agent trying to deduce the suggested market value price for that particular consumer, it gives you the magic window where you can place the price. Knowing the average sales price, price per square foot, all of those numbers are going to help you calculate a new list price or a suggested market value for another home. So when you look at sold properties in particular and where they did perform, the actual sold price, adjusted sales price per square foot, and all those numbers, again, for the purposes of listing a home, those are the very important mathematical pieces that you need to know what to predict for the current market is what the previous home sales have done. Excuse me. Also looking at some of these other presets, the historical count of active listings. Again, just to kind of see historically in whatever time frame you choose, where things were listed, what the current list price are now. So you're seeing those trends. Again, the market's kind of crazy right now, right? Things are flying off the shelf, as they say. So you'll have last year some very different list prices potentially than you have this year. So you'll see a trend in some of those sales prices, historical counts of active listings and things like that. All right. And again, anyone who registered for the webinar today is going to get a link with the recording. A couple of days from now, it'll just take a couple of days, but yes, you'll get a link to that recording. No worries. All right. Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate your time today. All right, so looking at the stats menu, let's start from scratch. So I'm just going to click on stats at the top, and then it's cleared it out for me. All right, so you can, again, come through and start filling in the blanks. I'm going to still just do single family homes in the zip code just to keep it simple and consistent, but let's look at this historical count of active listings. And then click generate. And you can see it's gone back quite a ways. And then I can change that if I want with the customization option. And you can see there was a trend there. We have some peaks and it's starting to taper off in that zip code, right? Again, it just happens to be related to the zip code potentially that I'm looking in. Um, Again, you can group by the number of active listings. That was the original focus of this report, but you can certainly change to anything else. So if you're looking for the number of days to sell or something like that instead, you can really customize these reports. You're just starting with the basic preset as your foundation, but you can change the statistical focus just by picking something different from the drop down. So if you wanted to focus on dollar volume instead of number of, easily you could do that, right? Again, the line, the smooth line, the area, it's just aesthetically changing it. It's not changing the numbers or anything like that. Excuse me, but it certainly can make it look different. And then again, if you wanted to use the 3D, add the just data points, change the color, you've got all those options. Right. And so here it is with just a simple line graph and the data points marked. So it makes it nice and easy to read. So we're looking at around 80 homes available. The peak looks like it went up to about 85, 90 rather, in February. So a little bit of a dip in April and back up again. So again, if I'm trying to educatedly talk about a particular market, I use the zip code as the quote unquote market. So that's kind of a large geographic area. But this allows me to educatedly talk about what kind of inventory there is right now, what's happening this month, what's happened in the last year to date, several months, right? So lots of different ways that you could use that chart. You could always click on search in the upper right to go back to where you're filling in your criteria, and you can change any part of that. Again, I just was being really simple in my criteria for the illustration of the technological function today. But instead of one zip code, I could have multiple zip codes separated by commas. I could instead look at something smaller like a subdivision. If you want to just focus on Westbury in that zip code, you could certainly do that. If you want to draw on the map, you can just click this headline here that says map search, and you can go to the map and draw on the map instead. So if you want everything inside the loop or around the Woodlands area or something like that, you can certainly do that as well. So these statistical reports can be as broad or as general as you'd like them to be, right? And just looking quickly at the map search, it does work a little bit differently than you are used to in the regular matrix MLS search. So we'll focus on that for just a moment. Let me take out my subdivision name. And we'll just click the header that says map search, and it's going to open in a pop-up window. So it'll take me just a second to switch over. Now, again, this is much like the map in Matrix when you're doing an MLS search, but it is slightly different. So top right corner has that jump to. You can have it zoom into a current location or HAR central office. You can type a street address. So if you know of a street address in a certain neighborhood, you want to type it in and have it zoom the map to that particular address, you can do that. Just click the locate after you type in the address. You can also just draw. So the rectangle, the radius, and the polygon tools are available in this particular map. So again, if we wanted to just kind of zoom in on the map a little bit, get to, say, the Woodlands area, click once to pick up the polygon tool, and you'll get a plus-shaped cursor there. And then it does perform the way it does when you're searching for property in an MLS search. So you can just click and let go every time you want to change direction. And then double click to be done, or just meet up with the starting point of your shape and click one last time to be done. And so that now is going to be the shape where it's going to look for my statistical report. Once I click OK, it'll go back to the matrix screen. Excuse me, I just have to do a little niggling to keep it on zoom for me. So now it's filled in the mapping area. There's kind of no real indication of that other than it says clear map in little letters up here at the top now. So that's how I know it does have some mapping selected. And again, all of my presets on the left, whatever it is that I'd like to change, I certainly could do that and then click generate. So everything else is the same, but the map just behaves a little bit differently. So I wanted to be sure to illustrate that. All right. All right, so last little tidbits in the market reports here. I want to just go to the next menu over. So market reports are the other sections that we want to cover today. So clicking on market reports, you've got a handful of different reports there. Months of inventory, again, can come in pretty handy. Again, I'm relating it to a CMA because it's a pretty helpful statistic for CMAs, but it's good to know what's going on in the market in general. Months of inventory, however long properties are tending to stay on the market, can predict how long it would take something to sell. If you get a new listing and it's a very strong seller's market, well, then it helps you determine your listing might sell that quickly as well if you price it right. So that can benefit your seller greatly. If a property stays on the market about 6 months, 4 to 6 months, that's about equal market equilibrium. Excuse me. If it stays on the market longer than that, that tends to favor buyers. And if it sells more quickly than that, then that tends to favor sellers. So again, that's what this months of inventory report will determine for us. Once you click on market reports and then months of inventory, again, you've got a handful of criteria that you can fill in here. Single family homes, you could limit it to a certain price range. You could pick rentals, private per seller lots, whatever. Not going to be a lot of statistics on private per seller. Again, if you wanted to use something like a Geo Market Area, let's do Woodlands this time since we did the southwest part of Houston twice. We'll do the Woodlands twice. You can see it's not as specific a set of criteria. You can drill down to something as small as a subdivision here, so you do have that option. But I'm going to keep it broad and just do the Woodlands. And Geo Market Areas, I'll take you to the map here in just a moment and illustrate those a little bit better as well. But in that large-ish geographic area right now, it is a 1.1 month of inventory. So that means, again, pretty strong seller's market right now. In the past 12 months, the average sales price has been $582,267. There were 2,769 units that sold that made that average sales price. And in the current active listings right now, there are 261 listings. The average list price of those is $1,054,000. So we've about doubled in price. So that again is showing me a trend. The prices are going up. Of course, there could be an anomaly in there, a unicorn, I call it, that's driving my average up. But again, averages are including your lows, your highs, and your middle prices. So it does seem to me to show that there is an upswing in prices there. Again, not too big a surprise for many of you, I'm sure, that the market is pretty hot and things are moving and the prices are escalating. So again, if you are wanting to list a home right now, if you have a prospective seller who's looking to list, this is a really good jumping off point statistic-wise to discuss that with them. It's also what I call elevator talk, right? If somebody's like, oh, hey, I see your name badge, you're a realtor, tell me something about real estate. How's the market, right? Somebody might ask you that. Well, it depends on what market you're talking about, of course, because that can vary greatly from neighborhood to neighborhood, from zip code to zip code and things like that. But this gives you, if you're a Woodlands person, this gives you some really quick, easy stats to pop off, right? So, oh, well, it's a really strong seller's market right now. And what depends on what market you're in or interested in. But my specialty is the Woodlands, where it's a really strong seller's market right now. And the average list price is over $1 million. Here's my card. How can I help you? Right. So, a couple of good pieces of information that you can get from that report as well. All right. I saw a hand icon go up in the participants, but I don't guess so. So we'll keep moving on. All right, a couple of other reports in the market reports. The agent production report, that's going to be your own production. So fun with numbers for your own production. I won't click it because I'll have a lot of zeros because I'm an employee at HAR. We're either unlicensed or don't practice. So I have no production, but that will give you, I hope you're so busy one day that you have no idea how much money that you've made, but it will give you an overview of your production, your dollar volume, things like that. So for tax time, it's a good report. and just to kind of keep an eye on, what you've done so far this year, see it in black and white in a nice formal report. You won't have some of these reports that I have because I have an administrative type account. So you may be seeing a little bit different options. Real estate trend indicator is where I'll head next. Let's see, I have a question in the chat there. The significance of the months of inventory. Again, it's telling you if it's a buyer or seller's market and how strong a buyer or seller's market it might be. So if you're a listing property, let me just pull those numbers back up. So if you're looking to list a home in the Woodlands, right now it's a seller's market. So that was my example. Again, market equilibrium is about 6 months. So if it's selling quicker than 6 months, it's a very strong seller's market. In this case, 1.1 month, based on the current inventory that we have right now and the historical performance of listings selling, it's going to take about a month, just over a month for what is on the market right now to be gone, to sell. So sellers can expect that it will move fairly quickly if they list their home right now. And again, the average list price in that geo market area is just over $1 million. So again, they can expect to get a pretty high list price and likely a high sales price, I would imagine, from that too. We're looking at past data. Even if I could sell my home for $582,000 and I thought it was only worth $232,000, that's a good return on my sale there. All right, good. Thank you for the question. I appreciate that. All right, and I did have it still. All right, so going back to market reports and then real estate trend indicator. I think that one's named fairly intuitively, so I won't explain too much, but it's going to let you see some trends. So we're looking at a little bit more sky-high overview type numbers in these market reports now. Here at the top, clearly you can put your own date range in there. You just click the little calendar. I'm going to go ahead and leave it year to date, but you could go back to 2020 and run, whatever month to start to end, whatever months you want to put in there. Again, I'm just being simple about my criteria and sticking with single family homes in about the same geographic areas because it's simple. And you can just kind of see how the report changes. Focus, just depending on what type of report I'm in, all right? No subdivision on this particular report. Again, we're getting higher up and more broad in these reports as we go through them. There is a zip code option. Again, I'm just going to stick with my geo market area and generate. Excuse me. And this one does take a little bit longer to generate just simply because it's working back several months and it's trying to pull out specific statistics and a lot of statistics. It's pulling them into this little table here and breaking them down by price range. So this is a little bit different focus. Rather than focusing so much on units, it's focusing more on price. So again, looking in the Woodlands, which is kind of a large market area. Again, I promise I'll go to the map here in just a moment and show you what the Woodlands equals in terms of the geography it's covering. But in that market area, year to date, in homes that are $49,999 and under, 3 went off the market, but there were no real active sold listings, pending listings, or expired. All right. So once we get down to 180,000 to 199,999, we start seeing homes. So I had 1 2-bedroom home, 2 or fewer bedrooms, 3-bedroom. There were 11. So that's total 12 properties in inventory in that price range. So if we start looking down this table and kind of skimming over it, you can see the highest number that I could spot off the top of my head there is in the 500 to 599,999 range. There were 197 total, 196 that were 4+ bedrooms. So that seems to be the trend in that particular area. It's 4-bedroom homes, seems to be the most inventory. And then when we look over here at actives, we've got 46 active properties, 51 that went into pending, 7 expired, and 37 were off the market, withdrawn. right? So again, it's just kind of showing you in that particular price range, that's probably your average listing price um, for most of the homes. Again, we kind of saw that on the previous chart where it was saying the previous year had sales on average in the $589,000. Remember that number, 582,000. So this is kind of supporting that, right? The off-market status is withdrawn in this particular case. So where it's just saying off-market, that's all that would mean. Again, yes, we are recording, and anyone who registered is going to get a link to the recording. So if you need to step off, no problem. You'll have the recording in your email probably the beginning of next week. Thank you for your time today. All right. So scrolling on down through the rest of the chart, again, it's giving me totals in all of those columns. So if you're a statistics person, you're putting together a newsletter. Again, maybe somebody's saying, hey, how's the market? You've got this really generic open-ended question, but now you've got some statistical numbers in your head where you could talk sort of educatedly about them. Again, your average price and volume and days on market. So for those that are staying on the market just 0 to 30 days, there were 1,146. So that again is showing me that homes that hit the market were probably in about the 500 to almost 600,000 market, and then they only stayed on the market less than 30 days. So moving quickly, right? Lynn, I'm not certain. I think that this off-market column is just withdrawn, but I'll have to double check on that. I don't believe it includes terminated as well. All right. Any other great questions on that report before we close out that one? Again, I don't know that you'll run these all day, every day, but it's a really good set of reports that you can run, once a month or something like that, and kind of keep an eye on the area where you're working and doing real estate so that you have that sort of either sky high or specific overview. Let's just go look at the map real quickly since I've promised to do that. We'll look a little more at the geo market areas. You can do that two different ways. In the links section, there is a link to the map. So we can go to the Geo Market Area Map there. And this illustrates all of the different geo market areas that we cover in MLS. It is quite a large number of geo market areas. So anything that's color coded right now is technically a part of the HAR MLS coverage area. So as far north as almost Nacogdoches, east of Beaumont, almost west as far as Brenham down to almost Sargent. It does include the Galveston Island and Bolivar Peninsula in our MLS, though they have their own MLS. We are also including them in our coverage area, right? So looking at the map, just to kind of show you real quickly what I was talking about, this orange salmon-ish kind of colored blob over here on the west side of 45 is the Woodlands. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Be careful when you're trying to move the map. If you double click, it tries to take you somewhere else. So this is where I was looking to do all of those statistics. So you may not consider that the Woodlands in your mind. I certainly wouldn't have necessarily thought it would go all the way that far west had I not known what this map looked like. Also, I consider this stuff on the east side of the 45 to be the Woodlands area. So I might have thought there would have been a little bit more on the east side of 45. That's technically called Spring Northeast. So you can see here the brown shape extends down pretty far south. So when you're running those statistical reports, if you're using geo market areas, this is what you're looking at. So again, kind of a large geographic area. So I could go back and run that report again and include just a zip code. And in the Woodlands area, 77385 and 380 or something like that, and get a totally different set of numbers. It's still the Woodlands. It's just a different way to look at the Woodlands. All right. So again, just be sure that you're kind of familiar with those geo market areas if you plan to use those for your parameters when you're searching. You can also get to this map inside a matrix search. So if you're doing a property search, let me just go back and pull up what we had done earlier. and you visit the map tab in the upper right corner there, you have these layers. And one option is your geo market area. The MLS area numbers are something that have been around for quite some time, but not many use them. 20 plus years ago, when I first started learning all of this stuff and working with Stellar View and Tempo, MLS area numbers were really all we had to work with. But geo markets, I think, are much more commonsensical. I would motherly advice steer you toward geo market areas because they're going to be called something that's more commonsensically what you call that part of town, like the Woodlands, Medical Center, Katy North, Katy South. So again, that's why I'm focusing, so harping really on geo market areas today. If you check that little box, it's going to put that same color-coded map on your MLS results map. So again, we can see pretty quickly and easily that this is Braes Oaks, this is Meyerland area, this is something else that I can't read because my eyes aren't that great. But again, it's just kind of superimposing that layer onto your results. So you can see kind of clearly that some of my property results are in two different geo market areas. All right. So that is something that you have available to work with in Matrix as well. I realize that's not a statistical report, but since we were building many of our reports based on those geo market areas, I wanted to be sure to show that. And there is, yes, there is a layer for zip codes as well. So if you're on that map page in layers, zip code is there. So instead of geo market, you could certainly do that. And it just kind of lays out a blue outline there. And then you can see this is 77071, 096, 035, which is what I searched in originally when we did that. And I apologize, Robert, I'm not completely understanding your question. If you don't mind rephrasing that just to help me understand it a little bit better. It's just my brain. It's a little slow sometimes. The last couple of things that I just wanted to cover here, we covered our real estate trend indicator. We covered months of inventory and agent production. We just briefly talked about. Inventory counts is another report that could come in handy for you. So clicking on inventory counts, again, I think the name kind of deduces what it is. You can put in your, or Intuit's what it is. You can put in your own date range. Sorry, I'm trying to read and talk at the same time and all my words are coming out strangely. Put in your own custom date range there. Again, just for my simplicity's sake here, you know, I'm going to just do the Woodlands and single family and then generate that report. And so it's giving me now things broken down by status. So kind of sort of like the real estate trend indicator that we did a moment ago, but this is now grouping it by property status instead of by price range. So this one clearly is laying out my terminated and withdrawn properties. So off market is all it said on the other, which I believe just included withdrawn. Looking at the stats, again, you can kind of see what the biggest, you can probably guess the most exciting number to most is where things actually sold. So that is telling us that things will perform well. The average days on market was 13. It was 13 in that particular status. Average days down in the total is 10. So again, learning a lot about the Woodlands, if that's of interest to you. Sorry if you do not care the slightest about the statistics for the Woodlands, since I focused on that today a good bit, but it gives you the idea. Again, I can know now that, hey, how's the market? Could be doing really great. My market, we have $31 bazillion worth of sold just this year alone. So again, you've got some stats that you can kind of be able to talk about. And is there a way to print the geo map? You might be able to print that geo market map from the link. Again, if you go to links up at the top there, and then the Geo Market Area Map. You may be able to print this one from here. It's not really designed to be printed, but it is just a Google map overlay, so it might work. We did at one time sell these in the store, and I believe that we still do. The HAR Supercenter. So let me just visit the website real quickly and see if I can find that answer for you. Yes, the Geo Market Area Map is $5.95 at the Supercenter, and the stores are open. The central locations store and office is physically open. So you can go and see that. The inset is going to be more the southwest part of Houston, kind of surrounding HAR Central. So West University-ish area. So it's a zoomed in map, this a little cutout of this central portion of this map. Since it is so large an area and the geo markets are kind of small comparatively in that central part of the city, we have a little inset that you can purchase as well. So it's a zoomed in version of the center part of the map. So you can order it online at store.har.com and have it delivered, or you can go by the store and pick one up. I know. I saw that too. I was like, wow, they print key map books still. When I was a young driver, my dad wouldn't let me leave the house without my key map. So I didn't know that was still a thing either, Holly. So, all right. So I think maybe, Robert, I'm understanding the question. We have this recent searches on the right. Is that what you meant? Under recent searches, if I click there, it remembers up to the last 50 things that I did, or however many, I think it's 50 still. So that's how I loaded that search criteria back up real quickly. I think that might be what you're trying to get me to explain, Robert. Again, it's all me, so I apologize if I'm not understanding correctly. Okay, great. Great. Thank you. All right. The last few things that I want to just throw out there while we have it, it's not really statistical, but it is financial. So I thought I'd kind of just throw it in. If you are subscribed to the Platinum package of tools, you'll have access to these additional financing tools. There is, as you can see, the seller net, the buyer closing cost, and mortgage calculator or amortization. Those are technically HAR tools, but I just, again, they're dollars related, so I thought I'd throw them out there in this webinar today. The seller net sheet, buyer closing cost, there's a rent versus buy, mortgage calculator, and amortization. Please be cautious with these. Be mindful of the fact that this really isn't your responsibility. There is someone else who is going to be providing an absolute seller net sheet with, numbers that are specific to the transaction and all that. But you can fill in the name. So you can put somebody's name there. And then I'm not going to fill in a lot of these blanks. FHA, VA, conventional, etc. Just fill in the blanks. Again, be really mindful that you're doing your due diligence. This one always catches me. Inspections. Are inspections $75? Nope, they're more like $475. And the seller doesn't even pay them, so I don't know that we need it on the worksheet. So again, just go through and be really mindful of filling in the blanks the right way, with numbers that are specific to a transaction that you may be working. And then you can click on calculate and view, and it gives a nice overview of the costs and then what they may net. Again, my fake client here is going to net really a whole bunch of stuff because I didn't put any fees in there. So again, it's just a nice number, talking point, a way for you to easily calculate those numbers and then be able to provide it if you wanted. You can share it by email or text it or print it. Again, it's just an option that I wanted to make you aware of. Again, it is part of the Platinum package of tools, so you do have to be subscribed to that package. It lives here in tools and then financial tools. And you can also access them from the top of Matrix if you wanted to do that. So again, just wanted to include those real quickly today. All right. So last few things in our inventory report, the ranking report, again, lets you pick your own criteria there. You may or may not have access to this. This is an administrative type report. I just wanted to point it out real quickly. If you are a broker or manager or staff person at your office, then you can run some of these ranking reports and get individual people's rankings, dollar volume, list sale volume, average price, total transactions, things like that. So these would be administrative type reports for the ranking reports. Right. I don't know if I have any brokers or managers online today, but still wanted to point that out. All right. So that kind of actually brings me to the end of all of the things that I wanted to cover today. Do you have any other questions? Y'all have been really great about popping them into the chat there. If you have any other questions for me, feel free to either unmute. I think it will allow you to do that. Or if you want to just put them in the chat and let me know, we can go that way as well. Awesome. I'm glad y'all got a lot out of it. Thank you. My pleasure. I love doing these webinars and sharing these things with you guys. So thank you for joining me. We do have it's a series monthly. We do a different webinar and I try to cover a different HAR tool and alternate between an HAR tool and a matrix MLS tool. If you visit har.com/edu, you will see a tab for webinars and you can see the different topics that are coming up. Client experience rating will be next month, I believe. Let me just double check my date. Yep, August 6th. We'll cover client experience rating. All of these webinars are at no charge. They're for no credit either. No CE along with that, but you do get the information. And anyone who registers gets a link to the recording of the video. So even if you register and you're not able to attend that day, or like several here today had to leave early, they will still get the recording of the full webinar. All right. There was a question here about, and thank you all so much for your lovely words. I appreciate you being online today as well. The market report did not show the tax rate. It's just statistical numbers on sales price, list price, things like that. The 10-1004 MC report, if you will shoot me an email, I will send you back some information about that one. That was a good one. All right. You can still do the 120-day listing challenge. You can pick up, even though you may not have been in it from the beginning, you can always join. So definitely, if you want to send an email to education@har.com, Doreen, they'll be glad to give you some more information on that 120-day listing challenge. You can join at any time. All right. Let's see. I have a buyer debating about buying from two different neighborhoods. What's the best report to use and what will be the best to use to compare them? So that's a little subjective because it just depends on what it is the buyer's looking for, right? These reports are showing us dollar number type things. So they may or may not, it doesn't always boil down to price. Sometimes it boils down to, is it close to the grocery store I like, and can my kids get to and from school? Are there people in the neighborhood that they can play with? So there are other factors in there. So it's a little bit of a subjective question, but I would do some of these stats in the stats section just because I can be much more specific. If you look at, again, single family property in this two different subdivisions or neighborhoods, you can draw two different shapes on the map to compare them side by side. So you can just be a lot more finite in your criteria in the stats section. And then list price, historical count of actives can help. And then list price per square foot can help. So it's just showing the dollar volume, the dollar amount per square foot and focusing on the pricing more than anything in the list price to square foot ratio, list price to price per square foot ratio. Can't get all those words out there. All right. So I hope that helps you, Adriana. And again, you're more than welcome to email or call if I can be of help offline. Recording is going to be posted to our YouTube channel, so it will stay up and running. So you don't have to worry about it no longer being an active link. It'll just always be there. All right. So thank you all again so much for your time and attention today. I'll go ahead and wrap up for today unless you have any other questions for me. Again, everyone's welcome to email. So shoot me an email offline if you think of a question that I can help you with. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay dry. I think it's supposed to rain again. Take care. Thank you again so much. And for all your lovely comments. I really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.